Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Today we're on one of the most timeless maps in the Total Annihilation Beyond All Reason sort of franchise set of games. It's of course Koom Valley. We got ourselves a little bit of a pause here, throwing me off because I was worried maybe I had chosen the wrong replay, but it looks like we're already off to a ripping and roaring start right here as we get into this match. Koom Valley, it's one of those tricky ones. It's got a whole bunch of different lanes that people are going to be fighting over. It's got backliners, it's got air players, it's got everything that you could know and love, and I'm excited to see exactly what goes down right here. And spawning is the Red Commander, dropping in right on the front lines. It goes by the name of MVP. Going to be showing us what they've got as a Cortex player and as a Bot Lab player. Now, all the way on exactly the mirrored opposite dimension, we have Matejko, or Matejko? Matejko, we'll go with Matejko. The blue commander here, spawning as an Armada commander, going heavily into solar panels. Wind speed, yeah, wind speed's pretty bad on this map, actually. At its lowest point, it will always be efficient for Armada, I believe. Yes,
Battle
wind speed
paused.
below 5 for Armada, or 6
Battle
for Cortex.
started.
So it's always technically efficient for Armada, slightly inefficient for Cortex. But other than that, 10 wind speed is definitely not fabulous either. So going heavily into wind is not going to be as useful maybe as going into some of those solar panels. So I'm excited to see maybe if we get a little bit of economic shenanigans. I've personally been familiarizing myself with the solar panel, making myself adopt the solar panel more, get comfortable with using solar panels. So hard to justify those costs, but I think maybe as I get better and maybe as everybody gets better, it's easy to understand that reclaiming them is always an option, and if you manage to do that, then you can at least get some value out of them. There is something to be said for the constant energy output and its ability to make unit production very, very consistent, right? You can constantly pump out units at a set rate, and it means that you're gonna know exactly when your reinforcements are gonna arrive. Anyway, more of a general overview strategy sort of a thing rather than a specific engagement to deal with right there. There's some particle effects in the air. What on earth is that? Strange. Huh. I have no idea what those particle effects are. You see those too, right? Just kind of hanging out in midair. Sorry, I'm totally distracted by what on earth these random particle effects are. So distracted that I didn't even see all these rovers in the backline causing a whole bunch of havoc. There is grunts though to deflect all this, so I think it will all be taken care of quite nicely. There's also a air unit, an air scout going across the map right here, sent out by Storm of Steel, and will actually get a beautiful scout of the blue team here. Let's switch over to Storm of Steel's POV, and we can see we've scouted effectively every player on the blue team. Beautifully, beautifully done. This is a really crucial scout, discovering exactly where each of these players is and also where their commanders are. For instance, we can see right now that Spitfire 4 has dashed forward and abandoned his rear laboratory over here. So we've got the bot lab trying to churn out units right now, but because the commander is so far forward and also hasn't claimed any of these metal extractors here, Spitfire is definitely a little bit vulnerable in this front line, and the red team completely sees that, so I think this is the right time to get aggressive over here. You can see incisors falling. Yeah, those grunts are ready to move forward right now. They want to jump on top of all this as quickly as possible. Gonna be tricky to do so. We do have Orbis, the purple commander, stepping forward right now to try and intercept a lot of these grunts. No energy right now for Spitfire though, and that does hurt. Not having enough energy to run your static defenses makes them null and void. Not worth keeping around. This is construction tower back here. This is draining so much energy right now from the powder blue commander, but doesn't also, well, we need this construction tower, right, to build the wind turbines, so it's a little bit of a catch-22 right there. I think eventually we're going to get it up and running, and it will help out with building a whole bunch of this energy production, but Spitfire, yeah, basically needs to triple energy production right now to keep units on scale. The Librarian, bookkeeper of the lavender color, the lavender hue, going to be trying to hold this front line here, working in tandem with Matejko, the blue commander. A couple of Janices on the front lines already. Where's the commander? Oh, there we are. Okay. Commander didn't sprint forward. Usually we see the commanders of vehicle players marching forward as quickly as possible. Surprised we're not fighting over this island a little bit more aggressively here. Itchy Britches having the time of their life walking forward right now. The tan commander not contributing any forces on this lane. This is a serious misplay right now. Come get some, using the commander to expand backwards. This is so safe that usually, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to send a constructor backwards here because there's not really a reason to expand with your commander. Kind of, your commander is for heavy duty expanding, right? Using it for options when you need a little bit more firepower on the front lines. Definitely a little bit of a misplay right there. Going to give a tremendous advantage to the blue team because we now have the Cyan Commander in control over this little section right here, denying the geothermal, and of course having a opportunity path directly into the line of the Orange Commander right there. And then on the southern side, we also have nobody capturing this high ground right here. Orbis would be wise to do so. There we go. Yeah, Purple Commander going to step up to this high ground and start claiming a whole bunch of these metal extractors. This also unlocks this geothermal for capture too, which is definitely recommended. Those geothermals are extremely efficient. And we have this front line, which is nice and secure. I mean, this actually could be pushed a little bit harder right now. We do have these maces up on the front. Maces are quite good against grunts. They do quite a good amount of damage. They're quite beefy boys as well. There's also tons of pawns right here as well to contest all this. I think this is looking quite nice for Matgo Gecko, the Seafoam Green Commander right here. Quite a few names this game, huh? Well, this is nice. This is nice right here. Yep, pawns were just out of position just a little bit, but it does mean the grunts will get into the back line now. Finding wind turbines, finding metal extractors, finding all this juicy infrastructure that they're now going to blow to smithereens, as the Powder Blue Commander is now in heaps of trouble, trying to degun down whatever he can. Spitfire 4 trying to hold it together, but those wind turbines were just too closely packed together, and the chain reaction takes them down. My goodness. We've, whoa, look at him. He's busted a move. He's moonwalking midair. Midair moonwalking. Scarecrow 100. Nicely done with the transport here. Going to try and save his teammate by transporting the commander around and degunning whatever we can. But my goodness, the damage is massive. And Spitfire 4, my boy, you need to capture these metal extractors. 2.0, 2.0, 3.5, 2.0. Very, very valuable metal extractors to not have been churning out metal this entire time, denying so much metal to the blue economy right here, significantly hampering the effect that the blue economy can have out on the field, or that the blue player, the powder blue player, can have out on the field, because there's just not enough units. Yeah, you can see the production on scale for everybody else to be well outpacing basically all the production over here for Spitfire 4. Scarecrow trying to find some value still. Using this commander that is still available, gonna go drop it around to clean up some of these run-by units that were not perfectly cleaned up over here. There's also a thug still fighting away. Actually quite a good value for this thug. Yeah, kill some of those constructors. I think it's been all armied hotkeyed back, and now it's just gonna be pulled back into formation all the way across the map over here. I think it definitely should have tried to kill those constructors. Usually a really good play. Oh, look at that. We'll tell you what happened there. A beautiful hug happened right there. That was Storm of Steel going up against Orbis, and I guess they decided to trade it out. Apparently drawing enough attention to this high ground over here, this southern high ground over here, that an MVP found it worthwhile to move up onto it. At the very least, to reclaim a whole bunch of this metal, which should probably fund a T2 transition. Yeah, there we go. We've got the T2 lab just about finished up right there. It'll start up a T2 constructor as well shortly here. I imagine with that much metal to spare, a T2 constructor should be our first order of business, so we can start quickly upgrading this economy. We're also starting some advanced solar panels in the back here, which is always nice. Those advanced solar panels provide much more energy income. They're also a little bit more resilient as well, which is worth noting. Oh, okay. The librarian, apparently unfamiliar with the change to commanders, means they can no longer degun each other. I do remember a time when they were still testing this system, whether they wanted to implement it or not. The other option was that they would have commanders require a certain amount of deguns, right? It was, I think it was like 3 deguns or something in order to knock the other commander out or something. It was pretty funny. It was a different type of commander dueling. It was fun though. Little changes like that over the years. Always fun to reminisce. Big missile truck energy right here for Mateko, the blue commander right now. Just using these whistlers to fire away at a lot of these static defenses. Using the construction, construction vehicles, pardon me, to rebuild a lot of this on the fronts as well. Yeah, I think these 3.5 metal extractors are going to be really valuable. Claiming those mexes and then using them to pump out more and more vehicles. Continuing that snowball. Going to be really valuable. If we adjust our camera, we can take a peek at what's going on over here. We do have a couple of flamethrower turrets going to start blasting away at a lot of this T1. There's enough T1 to bring these down relatively efficiently. Still though, burning down some of those units very, very nicely, making it at the very least uncomfortable to push forward. I think it's the wrong decision to fall back though. I think we need to keep the aggression high. I'm surprised at our lack of production. Yeah, there we go. We start pumping thugs out left, right, and center. I'm surprised that we weren't doing that sooner. Maybe some agitators, or pardon me, aggravators in the bot lab wouldn't be the worst idea either. We have to be so careful right here as Mateko, the blue commander. If we overstep our bounds, then it's really easy for, say, for instance, Tommy to swing upwards while Frosty Forever is pushing forwards without even very much team coordination. It just kind of happens automatically, and suddenly you find yourself up against 2 versus 1 in a really, really bad position. And it can be really difficult to fend that all off. Still, though, missile truck's pretty good. They rely on having enough time to fire at things over and over again. As you can see them whittling down this army over here. LLT is sure to fall. And eventually those aggravators will as well. But this is a huge advantage right here for Hans Joachim. Nicely done capturing this geothermal right here, providing so much energy back to the yellow commander. Gonna mean that we can afford some of those more expensive units, some of those more expensive structures, like for instance these T2. T2 probably being handed out right here, yeah, by the red commander. Beautifully done. We do have that T2 constructor going around building these T2 mexes as well. 8.1 metal per second, basically your entire early game economy out of a single metal extractor. Very, very nice to see. Man, missile trucks are so fickle. So powerful if you can use them over a long time. They have the capacity for immense violence, but sometimes it certainly feels like they're very, very thin. Fall apart in the blink of an eye. Yeah, I think I like the aggravators here. Talking about 110 metal per aggravator versus 150 per whistler. And I think that means you are eventually going to take a more efficient trade right here. Frosty Forever doing a great job of tanking in the front as well for his aggravators, making sure to keep a nice little force available on the front to protect that commander, but also keeping the commander's build power around. Losing that commander, sometimes it can feel like a benefit if you manage to eat up all that metal, but it does mean that you lose out on that D-gun, and especially against a vehicle player. That of course means that you no longer have a solution, a really efficient solution anyways, against those medium tanks, which can be very nasty to deal with. And Sizer sprinting forward right here. Gonna scout the T2 transition at the very least, find some of these Sheldon, some of the radars, radar jammer bots, all that, moving forward right now. Sheldon Ball not quite at that critical snowbally mass yet, but we are starting to get there. Yeah, Sheldon being pumped out after Fiends, making sure to keep a couple of those frontliners up and available here. MVP securing this geothermal up here is quite nice as well. Wouldn't even mind seeing a couple of heavier defenses, maybe a heavy laser tower, even a gauntlet could theoretically, or an agitator, pardon me, could theoretically get some serious value here. Look at this boneyard. Beautiful, beautiful graveyard of troops right here. We do have a gauntlet up and available on the southern side, going to be blasting away over here. We have heavy laser towers as well. Porked to high heaven between these two commanders. This is the kind of time where you start thinking about maybe just going ahead and sending your reinforcements elsewhere, sending your troops up north, because it's so porked up right here that you might as well just go ahead and spend those troops differently. We've seen that certainly with, what was that game recently? I believe it was, oh, what was that map? Was it the Tar Pits? I can't remember exactly. One of the matches just recently showcased where we had essentially one of the commanders porked up on their lane, and the, I believe it was a red commander porked up on their lane, and one of the blue commanders said, oh, if you're just going to spend all your money on static defenses, I'll simply send my units elsewhere, and they did, and it ended up working out fabulously. Was it Pawn Retreat? I think it might have been the map on, or the match on Pawn Retreat. That sounds right. Oh, memory is fading. Let it be known that I do not have the best of memories. For some reason, I remember a lot about Beyond All Reason. It's very selective. I don't know how it works. Sheldon firing away right here. We are starting to hit that snowbally unit count up on this northern side quite a bit quicker. We also have double gauntlet firing way up on this hill. Well, kind of behind the hill, actually. But there they go. Certainly scary enough to thwart some of those T1 units from moving forward here. This army has been on a tear, though. We have, oh my goodness, we have double agitator up here on the high ground. Consider that the double agitator could essentially pay for the T2 transition right now. Just food for thought, food for thought. Thugs wandering to their doom for some reason. Just enjoying the carnage here as we watch these thugs blasted to oblivion. just like that, the Cyan commander will be looking back at that army in about, oh, I don't know, a minute or so and wondering, hey, where did all my forces go? Well, it turns out they're quick to disassemble when you have just the right tool and just the right opportunity to use that tool. At this point, it's worth pointing out the economies here. About 400 metal per second for the red team versus about 300 for the blue team. Most of that comes down to a T2 transition here. You can see the red team basically entirely upgraded to T2 at this point. Every one of their metal extractors, save for the maroon commander on the southern side here, and some of the ones up on this northern side for the tan commander as well. The two commanders that have been slowest to transition to T2 have also been obviously slowest to get their T2 mexes up and running. For the blue team, though, well, we do have quite a lot of T2 mexes, but we have quite a few unupgraded as well. Yeah, the purple commander, the seafoam green commander, a lot of the cyan mexes as well up on the front. A lot of them all without any sort of T2 upgrade. It's worth remembering, those are 4 times as productive. Insanely efficient. You could think of it as, for instance, a T2 metal extractor producing 8.1 metal per second. You would essentially need 600 energy per second in order to produce that out of anything else, right? You need 600 energy per second, more or less, a little bit less than that, to produce that using an advanced energy converter. Once you start thinking about it in that sort of efficiency, it becomes very obvious, very painfully obvious exactly how crazy efficient those metal extractors are. Gauntlet continuing to fire away. We do have a forward T2 lab over here. Always a little risky when you start building that forward T2 lab. The pros seem really fond of it. They really seem to enjoy that forward T2 lab because it puts the units on the front line so much quicker, but it means that you have no basis of production in the back line. I think if you're going to go for the forward T2, what I would probably suggest is to go for some build power in the back over here. Like, keep expanding this build power. You know, just constantly upgrading these. Maybe get 4 or 5, 6 build turrets right there in the background, just so that at the very least you have some sort of option if you need to eat up this lab and you need to retreat and you need to abandon this forward outpost. You at the very least can produce something out of the back. You don't just leave yourself hanging in the wind right there. Gauntlet firing away at the res bots. Trying to anyway. It's just barely out of range right there for that poor Gauntlet. Oh no. Oh, we just can't see it actually. Ah. Res bots have their natural stealth right here. Their stealthy res reclaim repair bot means that they give off no radar signature, which is quite cool. But this T2 transition has slowly started to push in the forces right here of the blue team. This is a slow and steady grind right now, but I think it's worth witnessing. Yeah. Sheldon, gonna be slowly dismantling the T1. You can see the efficiency once you transition to T2 is just off the charts. We do have Czars rolling out as well. Czars and Banishers, name a better combo. Czars perfect against big clusters of units, and the Banishers single target heavy damage. Makes them perfect against any sturdier units that might come out. Sharpshooters start up. A little too late for that though. The metal is already gone. The economy has already collapsed. These metal extractors have never been taken. It feels like they've constantly been harassed and blasted apart right here. Shuriken to jump on top of all this. Is it gonna be enough though? Oh, Scarecrow transports in. Oh, D-gun. There we go. Beautiful D-gun right there. You know what we could have gone for is a capture, actually. Going for a capture right there might have been even better, but it would have been more difficult to maintain. Maybe the Shuriken could have latched onto those different units while they were captured right there. But either way, an excellent save from Scarecrow. What a good play. Yeah, I love that right there from our green commander. Keeping his team safe with the Shuriken and then also using that commander as a little bit of mobile D-gun power. Really, really nicely done. Big old air pull right there. Was that really worth it? I feel like no. Yeah, the hot pink player had to give up tons and tons of fighters right there in order to shut down Scarecrow. Or just to try and shut down Scarecrow right there. Scarecrow is already on a T2 lab, by the way, so yeah, I really don't think that was worth it. That should be the cue right now for Scarecrow, that it's actually worth going ahead and going for maybe some bombing runs or maybe some aggressive gunship play. Any of those could be viable right now. Our poor powder blue commander, Spitfire 4, trying desperately here. Not having a fabulous time. Oh, the Arbiter missiles connecting with that base as well over there. They want to shut down that T2 lab very desperately. We don't have any anti-air on this mix, though. Well worth noting that there's no anti-air available right here for the red commanders. Starlight's pushing in on the northern side. I think, frankly, I would prefer if these Starlights turn south and just start blasting apart any of this static defense over here. Yeah, there we go. I think this is the right decision. Start blasting apart this porked up defense over here on the southern side. That way you can sort of free your teammates to start engaging this a little bit more. I think this is a great move. Yeah, I think it's a really splendid move right here. We do have a Cerberus firing your way up on the high ground, by the way. Nicely done. Starlight's so powerful. So ridiculously powerful. Yeah, that was really nice. I think blasting apart some of that static defense sort of opens up this northern section. Allows you to maybe invest a little bit heavier over here. You have to be wary of that Sheldon ball. Still marching forward any second now. But at the very least, yeah, a lot of that static defense went down. It's worth noting that once that static defense goes down, you can also start spamming ticks through there as well. So tick spam becomes more and more valuable as you start to tear down those static defenses. One of the key things that static defenses are really good at, of course, is shutting down those tick swarms. Still a hard-fought battle over here. Would love to see maybe some rocket spiders coming up this high ground right here. Yeah, MVP has just been shelling away at a lot of this stuff in the background right here, using this persecutor, firing away at whatever it can. I think maybe we meant to set this in hierarch mode and just fire away at this base right here for Matko Gecko, but either way, it's not the end of the world. Oh, there we go. We have a we have a shell shocker blasting away this single metal extractor spot right here. I guess I don't hate it, but I feel like this geothermal should definitely be the target of admiration. Yeah, we know that there's a geothermal. We don't quite know it's an advanced geothermal, but not the end of the world. Certainly the more high priority target right there. Bunch of hounds sent to the front lines here. I'd prefer those in their Gauss mode just to make sure that they connect their shots a little more consistently. This is a post I made on Reddit the other day, actually, called Dreaming of Siege Tanks. I was thinking about units that are similar to Siege Tank in StarCraft 2, how you transition units into an immobile version, and they sort of go through like some sort of physical transition. I was wondering if anybody had ever attempted something like that beyond all reason. I know that there's units that do transform. Somebody brought up a really good point, which was the Vanguard, which does do a little transformation as it points its schnozzle up into the air as opposed to keeping it down on the ground, kind of horizontally aimed. That was a really good point. That's exactly what I was talking about. Somebody else showcased a demo of a unit that apparently transformed into some sort of kind of artillery piece. I don't know. I'm always a big fan of units that transform like that. Different fire modes feel like they add quite a bit of micro ability, but also that's also been pointed out that that's not exactly the namesake of this genre of game. I feel like there's potential, though. I feel like there's certainly potential for exploration right there. There we go. Persecutor now firing up into the air and down onto this base over here. Nicely done. Gonna start blasting apart all of this base down on the low ground right here. Persecutor gonna be having a field day, tearing all this apart. And we've still made no investments in tearing this down. Yeah, there we go. We're gonna reclaim this T2 lab. I think that's probably a good decision here. We're gonna start up a new one in base on the southern side. I think that's probably the right idea. Big bull pull. Ended up in a tragedy. What a disaster. 570 metal per wreckage right there. Nowhere near the expense of the full cost of the bull, but still, half of a grand worth of half a grand worth of metal every single time that you have one of those. Oh no. Commander gets sniped on the southern side by the gunships over here. Air player just a second too late to save the commander on the southern side. What a bummer. And that's going to mean the end of that T2 lab, which did go down without being reclaimed. Definitely unfortunate. We do have another T2 lab built on the back over here. Yeah, these bulls are a tremendous use of metal. You have to get so much damage to justify the cost of the bull is really the problem. Oftentimes impossible, if not extremely difficult, to figure out how to get that value. Arbiters firing away at whatever they can. Which you don't hate. Wow, that thing can fire all the way down there? My goodness. I believe these Arbiters are trying to take down this pit bull. Or they're trying to take down... What are they trying to fire at? Oh, there we go. They're firing at these bots over here. They will manage to obliterate them. Matechko. Just barely out of range right there. Nicely done. Mammoths have found their mark. Discovering a whole bunch of labs over here. All of which have been pumping out a whole bunch of spam. Really, really nicely. Flame turrets not being addressed right now. Oh, okay. Flame turrets for the win. I have no idea why on earth those flame turrets won over the mammoth right there. That does not seem like that's how that should have gone, but there you go. Second mammoth will be here eventually to clean all this up, but my goodness. I don't think I've ever seen the Dragon's Maw manage to blast down a turret like that. T3 is online. 25 minutes into the game, and we finally see some Marauder hitting the battlefield here. Could have been Razorback, could have been maybe some Vanguard. There is Razorback, in fact, right there, following all this up. But I guess it's going to be Marauder, at least for the time being. Commander in a little bit of trouble here. Ooh, Hans Joachim does go down right here to the Razorback, firing away at it. Loads of static defense. My goodness, these are all pop-up turrets. It's going to be so expensive to break through. So expensive to break through. Yeah, Razorback trying its very best over here. Well, okay, actually not trying its best at all. Not trying at all, even a little bit here. What happened right there? The Razorback stopped firing. Brought low by the humble power of the Dragon's Maw, I suppose. There we go. Some missile trucks to, at the very least, blast apart that Persecutor. Maybe prioritizing the Geocannon would have been the better idea there, but either way, not bad. Lightning tanks to blast apart some of the Fiends, and I do like that play. Lightning tanks, essentially the perfect counter to the Fiends. They're fast enough to keep up with them. They do enough damage to counter their relatively low HP pool. And then, of course, they have that chain lightning ability, because most of the time Fiends are going to be built up in mass. Means that you could end up chaining against them quite effectively here. You know, all said and done, those Marauder did manage to break through quite nicely over here. Yeah, I will say they've carved apart a whole bunch of the static defense. At the very least, clearing out some of this and making it a whole lot easier for spam to get through. The Mammoths eventually did clear all this out, but some of the Karganeth are now rushing forward to try and save the day, I guess. Yeah, there we go. I mean, we do have an impressive economy back here, I'll say. Razorbacks on the front. I do love a good Razor. Oh, that's a good shot right there. Look at those Razorbacks in line. Beautiful. Got to take a second to appreciate the modeling. Look at those rockets in the background as well as the Karganeths start to fire away over on this side. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. Love the Karganeth. What a cool little monster. Running around on all 6 of its legs. Dangerous as ever. I pointed this out before, but the Karganeth is essentially the equivalent for, or the, not the equivalent, that's the wrong word. It's the same as the Razorback. It fills the same role as the Razorback. It's an assault unit, quote unquote. It's meant to fire away at high speed, do tremendous DPS. Not necessarily the most durable unit. They're of course not the same as the Razorback because they cost quite a bit less. And you get what you pay for. You know what? Anti-air defenses are actually fairly thick right here. My goodness, yeah, anti-air defense is thick as all hell. Oh my goodness, the amount of T1 anti-air over here in the base right now for the Green Commander is hilariously high. But you know what? It ended up paying out right there because it did mean that the units were all shot down, and we do still have quite a few planes available for the Lime Green Commander right now. Gonna start up a whole bunch more production. We're still increasing economic production here as well. We got fusions, double APHIS production. We're getting ready to start spamming out fighters, as many and as fast as possible. Tigers, Quakers, good old-fashioned Cortex T2, fending off whatever it can. Here come the Karganeth on the southern side, though. We appear to have just kind of skipped the mid-game. It feels like everybody, well, in the middle there was quite a lot of fighting, but at the very least on the edges right here, it feels like we kind of skipped the mid-game fighting, instead just sort of porking up and pushing and falling and pushing and falling, and eventually skipping ahead to the T3 game. Now there's Karganeth. They have arrived. Good heavens. Orange Commander goes down on the northern side. Karganeth about to get the opportunity to start firing onto a whole bunch of these hounds over here. Karganeth with their little backpack anti-air missile quite good as well. Battle paused, battle started. Just like that, Karganeth into the backline. Beautiful, beautiful play. using those wall crawlers to get their way up this hillside without actually having to funnel up that ramp. Obviously, a weakness of most units is that they have to go up those ramps, and that terrain can oftentimes bunch them up, can make them very prone to degun or bombing or anything like that. Using the Karganeth here is a great option, or a great idea, rather than reaching for those Shiva. I feel like the Cortex default is to reach for a bunch of Shiva. Not the case here. Ooh, do we have any anti-air? Oh no. No anti-air available here for the Green Commander. There we go. Flak turret does start up. Thankfully. If you don't have any anti-air in your base as the air player, you can actually get into a weird situation where they shoot down your constructors. Everything falls. Suddenly you have no way of actually building anything else because they can shoot down your planes before they ever get a chance to take off from the labs. It's quite a strange situation, but sometimes it does mean that you end up locked down, essentially, and you have to get a constructor from another teammate or wait for anti-air to come online or something like that. It's very, very strange. 6 Razorback. Try and hold this line. Karganeth already in the back line, though. Demons pushing the front line here as well. Beautiful, beautiful scene. Demons, Karganeths, Shiva, Sheldon, Agitators, Trashers, you name it. Everything in the Cortex toolbox being whipped out right now to smash through the purple player's base. Didn't even have T3 up and online, and we're bearing down on them with the full weight of multiple T3 armies just to make sure that we can secure the deal. Seal it up, as they say. Karganeth's trying to shut down these... Razorbacks trying to shut down these Karganeths. Knew something was backwards right there. Commander over here trying to degun down what it can as well. In a good position, because a lot of these units are likely to take this ramp right here. But my goodness, those demons do burn tough. We do have Karganeth in the back line. It's worth mentioning. This one has gotten all the way to the back here. It could do some serious damage if we manage to target down, for instance, the Aphis over here, or maybe the energy economy right here of the tank commander, but those mammoths are going to be really, really difficult to bypass. Well, not difficult to bypass per se, but difficult to shut down, certainly. Mammoths, I guess, not very difficult to bypass at all with their 2 movement speed, or just about. Virtually static defense. Green Commander has left the game. Base left in ruins. Nothing left to micro. Their forces are crumbled. Tons and tons of bombers available. My goodness. Ah, what a bummer that these bombers never were used. There wasn't very much bombing happening on the other side of the map, so aside from the fighters, there's really not a lot of static anti-air defenses. I definitely feel like these bombers could have had some serious value here, yeah. Certainly in the middle of the map, there was a lot of opportunity just because they could have gotten there so quickly. Also, this high ground over here for red as well. Doesn't matter now, though. Demons in the backline burning down whatever they need to. The metal economy, about 1,000 per second for the red team versus just about 600 for the blue. Commander goes down in lavender as more and more T3 begins to rampage across the map over here. We do have Vanguard out and available. Okay, I mean, Vanguard are such a tricky unit. They're so good, but they're so situational too. They're very, very weak against a whole bunch of stuff. You can swarm them with lighter units. You can jump on them with air units. They're very, very vulnerable, but they also pack a tremendous punch. I think I've showcased before how dangerous they can be against even capital ships. One of my now go-to capital ship answers. Using those vanguards to blast apart the big boats offshore. Boom goes the Aphis over here. Actually spread out enough that it didn't chain react with these ones, so that's quite nice. But definitely taking down everything else in the vicinity here. Shutting down a tremendous portion of the economy. There we go. Yeah, metal production plummets immediately as we lose the metal extractors and the E-converters right here for the Cyan Commander. And at this point, we're just watching the fall of a blue empire. I'm going to go ahead and speed things up right here because I think we all know exactly where this is going. And we'll watch General G, the green commander who's been pumping out those Razorbacks dutifully, slowly start to lose more and more ground. Ignore. Ignore, says the yellow player. Yawn. The Juggernaut is like, hey, you can't ignore me. I'm the Juggernaut. Ignore. That's pretty funny. I think it's the right idea, too. I think the Juggernaut is a big, tremendous waste of metal. The amount of expenditure that you have to put into that versus the amount of output that you get. Really only useful if you need to break a seriously sieged position, or if you need to seriously siege a turtle position, I guess is what I mean to say. Decent against T3, I suppose, as well, but that's not the ideal use case. This the T1 anti-air, my goodness. There we go. Finally, the green commander yields under the unrelenting might of the red team. My goodness, what a game. Thanks a ton for watching. If you made it this far, I do appreciate it. I also appreciate if you would leave a like down below. It does help these videos propagate, and I'm always thrilled to see the Beyond All Reason cinematic universe expanded to reach new horizons. Sure hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will certainly see you in the very next game of Beyond All Reason. Peace out, everybody.